Pre-sentencing proceedings are underway today at the East London Magistrates Court in the Eastern Cape, placing economic freedom fighters leader Julius Malema back at the center of a legal and political storm that continues to draw national attention. What unfolds in this courtroom may not only shape Malema's personal legal future, but could also have wider implications for South Africa's political landscape, particularly if the court ultimately imposes a custodial sentence. As this process continues, we want to hear from you. Do you believe the case against Julius Malema is purely a matter of law? Or do you think political considerations are at play? Should a conviction of this nature result in imprisonment for a sitting political leader? Share your views in the comment section, and remember to like this video and subscribe for ongoing updates as this story develops. The proceedings taking place today follow Malema's conviction on firearm-related charges, stemming from the unlawful discharge of a firearm during an EFF rally held in Dantsane. The conviction itself, handed down in 2025, has remained a point of intense dispute between the state and the EFF, with the party consistently rejecting the ruling and maintaining that the case is politically motivated. At the heart of today's pre-sentencing hearing is the question of what penalty, if any, should be imposed. The court is expected to consider submissions from both the defense and the prosecution, weighing factors that could either mitigate or aggravate the sentence. This stage of proceedings is critical, as it allows the court to assess not only the offense itself, but also the personal circumstances of the accused, the broader public interest, and the principles of justice and deterrence. Central to the state's questioning today is a pre-sentencing report compiled by social worker Jessie Thompson. The prosecution is scrutinizing the findings and recommendations contained in that report, which is intended to assist the court in determining an appropriate sentence. Such reports typically address the accused's background, personal circumstances, likelihood of reoffending, and the potential impact of different sentencing options. The state's line of questioning suggests a rigorous examination of whether non-custodial sentencing options would be appropriate in this case, particularly given the nature of the offense and the public profile of the accused. Firearm-related crimes remain a sensitive issue in South Africa, where gun violence continues to pose a significant threat to public safety. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere has been described as tense and highly charged. EFF supporters have been singing and chanting ahead of the proceedings, turning the court building into a space not only of legal adjudication, but also of political expression. While the court itself remains bound by procedure and decorum, the scenes inside and outside reflect the deep emotions and political loyalties attached to this case. Outside the East London Magistrates Court, thousands of EFF supporters gathered from the early hours of the morning. Dressed in party regalia, chanting slogans and waving flags, they have framed Malema's court appearance as a moment of resistance rather than retreat. For many supporters, this is not merely a legal hearing, but a test of what they perceive as selective justice in South Africa. The EFF leadership has repeatedly characterized the case as an attempt to politically weaken or silence Malema. Party representatives argue that the charges, conviction, and potential sentencing must be viewed within the broader context of Malema's confrontational stance toward entrenched political and economic power. According to the party, the timing and persistence of the prosecution reflect a deeper political agenda. The state, however, maintains a very different position. Prosecutors argue that the case is about accountability, the rule of law, and public safety. From this perspective, Malema's political status neither shields him from prosecution nor subjects him to special treatment. The state's stance is that the law must apply equally, regardless of political office or popularity. Malema returned to court today accompanied by senior advocate Thembeka Ngukuratobi SC, a move widely seen as a strategic strengthening of his legal team. Ngukuratobi is a highly regarded constitutional and public law advocate, and his involvement signals the seriousness with which Malema is approaching both sentencing and a possible appeal. The EFF has confirmed that it intends to challenge the conviction, arguing that it was improperly obtained and politically driven. Today's proceedings are therefore not viewed by the defense as the final chapter, but rather as part of a longer legal battle that could extend into higher courts. During the hearing, the court is expected to listen to arguments that highlight both aggravating and mitigating factors. On the one hand, the unlawful discharge of a firearm at a public rally raises serious concerns about safety and responsibility. On the other, the defense may argue factors such as Malema's leadership role, his support base, and the broader political implications of a custodial sentence. Legal observers note that pre-sentencing proceedings serve a crucial function in ensuring that punishment is proportionate. The court must balance deterrence, retribution, rehabilitation, and the interests of society. In politically sensitive cases such as this one, the magistrate's task is particularly complex. The presence of large crowds has also prompted heightened security measures. Law enforcement officers are maintaining a visible presence around the courthouse to manage the gathering and prevent any disruptions. Authorities face the challenge of allowing lawful political expression while ensuring that court proceedings are not undermined. The national attention surrounding this case is not solely due to Malema's political prominence. A custodial sentence could have direct implications for his parliamentary position and leadership of the EFF. While South African law provides specific thresholds for disqualification from Parliament, the outcome of this case could raise new legal and political questions. Within the EFF, Malema remains a central and unifying figure. His leadership style, rhetoric, and political positioning have made him both one of the most influential and most controversial figures in post-apartheid South Africa. Any development that threatens his ability to lead the party would have ripple effects across the political spectrum. Supporters gathered outside the court have framed today's proceedings as symbolic of a broader struggle. Chants and speeches emphasize themes of resistance, justice, and political persecution. For these supporters, Malema's legal challenges are inseparable from the EFF's ideological confrontation with the political establishment. Critics of Malema, however, argue that the symbolism should not overshadow the legal facts. They maintain that public office carries heightened responsibility, and that leaders must be held to account precisely because of their influence. From this perspective, failure to impose meaningful consequences would undermine the credibility of the justice system. The magistrate overseeing the case is expected to consider all submissions carefully before setting a formal sentencing date. This decision-making process will take into account the pre-sentencing report, legal arguments from both sides, and relevant legal precedents. As the proceedings continue, analysts point out that pre-sentencing does not guarantee imprisonment. South African law allows for a range of sentencing options, including fines, suspended sentences, and correctional supervision, depending on the circumstances. However, the seriousness of firearm-related offenses means that a custodial sentence remains a possibility. The unfolding events at the East London Magistrates Court reflect a broader tension within South African society: the intersection of law, politics, and public perception. Cases involving high-profile political figures often test the judiciary's ability to demonstrate independence and impartiality. For Malema and his supporters, today represents another chapter in what they view as a prolonged political struggle. For the state, it is a continuation of a legal process grounded in statutory obligations and public safety concerns. For ordinary South Africans, it is a moment that invites reflection on equality before the law. As the day progresses, all eyes remain fixed on East London. The outcome of these pre-sentencing proceedings will not bring immediate closure, but it will shape the next phase of a case that continues to resonate far beyond the courtroom. Whether this process ultimately results in a custodial sentence, an alternative penalty, or a prolonged appeal, the implications will be significant. They will influence perceptions of the justice system, affect political dynamics within and beyond the EFF, and contribute to the ongoing debate about accountability in South Africa's democracy. For now, the court continues to hear submissions, supporters continue to gather, and the country waits. The decisions taken in this case will not only determine Julius Malema's immediate legal future, but may also leave a lasting mark on South Africa's political and legal history.